So usually when I talk to my friends about Undentia, I sort of make a joke that every time I come here, it costs me 5,000 euro. Because there are always new things that I like. And I thought, or once a year, I think that now I know everything about music and streaming, and now I know everything. And then I come here and he teaches me that I've been all wrong. So here we have, I thought that I was listening to digital music because I listen via my computer. Let's say I listen to MP3 or Spotify or whatever, that I listen to my Genelec digital speakers as I saw it. So Spotify, computer, DAC, and active speakers. For me, that is digital, but of course we can't listen to digital because once a zero, that will just be beeping. So what the DAC does there is to make the digital signals to analog, send that to the speakers, and then the speakers turn them to digital and then analog so I can hear it. And that is one step analog too much. So here we have something that removes that part. So as I understood it, we have this part that enhance the signal it gets from the Wi-Fi, so to say. And then we have the streamer that gives the signal out to the speakers. And we have the, what heter det?
It's a master reference clock.
The master reference clock that times everything in a correct way.
So both of the units are linked to the master clock, and the master clock is giving them the beat, so to say. And the master clock is much higher precision than you generally find in equipment.
Okay, so the master clock does the hard work, the big work.
Well, at least it does the pulse and with precision. It sees to that things arrive in time without any form of time deviation.
And then the streamer gives the signal and tells the speakers to play what they're supposed to play.
A streamer is here having the function of being able to accept both Wi-Fi signals, for example, Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, Apple AirPlay 2,
Yeah,
but also streaming via the LAN cable. Or, if you want, you can also connect another digital source. It can be a CD drive or a computer. So it is like a hub that takes the incoming signal and sends it out to the speakers. And this project...
So what we amateurs would call a preamp, sort of.
Yeah, like a digital preamp.
Yeah,
it's a
sort
transport.
It does the job with the signals.
Yes.
Yeah.
This project which we are working on now, we have dubbed a pure digital path. And the reason for that is that we are really avoiding any form of manipulation of the signal all the way into the speakers. And the speakers themselves convert the signal. This assures us that we have the finest and most precise and clean signal for the speakers to work with.
And just to be clear, not all Genelec speakers or not all speakers in general can do that. So it needs to be the SAM certified Genelec speakers that can take the digital signal in.
Correct. And
so even though if the speaker transforms digital to analog, yada yada yada, you still need a speaker that can handle the digital signal in.
Correct, and the reason why it is able to do that, SAM stands for Smart Audio Monitoring, and the reason why it is able to do that because each speaker has at least 2 DA converters. In this case, we have 3 drivers, the tweeter, the mid-range, and 2 hidden bass drivers. So each of these have their own digital converter. And in order to be able to give signal to convert to analog, each of the drivers must have a DA converter. So after the conversion has been done, it goes to the amplifiers, which there are 3 of in this case per channel. So all in all, we have about 1000 watts of effect or power available at our hands. But thanks to this new generation of products from Matrix, we truly can do this minimalist, purest form of signal handling, which, as I mentioned, we call the pure digital path.
So when this technology is available, why don't everybody have this? Why do we have the DAC that translate digital to analog to a speaker that then transforms analog to digital to analog again?
Or
Why?
in the case of speakers which are passive, then they will simply take the analog signal from their amplifier and just transform it into a movement of the drivers. Reason why we do that is because it requires a lot of knowledge of different fields of electronics and mechanics, and not everybody has all this knowledge in-house. Some are specialized in building very beautiful speakers, and that's wonderful. Some are specialized in making power amplifiers, which they're very good at. But for me, I really want to have a system which is so optimized. Each and every amplifier here is optimized for every driver that's inside. And this warranties that I don't have to have a guesswork. I don't have to plug and pray. I just plug and play.
But if we now, amateur as I am, listen to Spotify that has poorly quality music, will this show even more how bad the quality from Spotify is, or will it clean it and make it better?
I think that this is, in many aspects, a tool for understanding and hear the music as it is. Now, it will absolutely, if you have a chance to listen to AB, that means a non-compressed file and Spotify file, you will definitely hear the difference. But then again, the music is the important part, and sometimes when you have emotional attachment or connection to the music, we don't really analyze it. Is this really perfect? It just moves us, and that is the main point. We
use like the music,
Exactly. But once you have a really good material, then your equipment must be able to handle that, and this is what we offer. We offer them convenience of streaming and wireless and direct connect. But also, if we have studio masters which are like 8 times high in resolution as CD, then we should be able to play that too.
And this was the Matrix audio product where you could put your SSD disk right in, right?
You actually you connect an external drive to it. So it can be a computer drive, it can be external CD transport. And then there is another cool feature about it, and that is, if you want, you can rip your music to the hard disk or SSD, which the streamer gives you opportunity to mount. There is a screw underneath on an opening, so you put your SSD inside, and then all your music that you rip will automatically go to the SSD.
So we have one step less.
Exactly.
So the music is in that.
And there's a huge advantage, because maybe you have a couple of centimeters of handling the signal path rather than having a NAS somewhere in the other side of the house. So many advantages. You can use fiber optics you can have it for storing all your music, and 4 terabytes stores enormous amounts of music. You can really have a very valuable hub and tool which enables you, no matter what format, to play that music or to send that music to your converters or to your active speakers.
But the upper part, I complain or explain it a little bit too easy.
Yes.
What does it more than just clean the Wi-Fi
Actually,
signal?
this is, technically speaking, this is a switch. And a switch is taking in a LAN and giving you opportunity to feed out 6 or 8 different machines or units. Now, the difference between this and a conventional switch is that this is adapted for audio use. That means we have both reclocking. We are accepting fiber optics in and out. So very much attention has been put into making this audio grade, making it very silent, galvanically isolated, in order to feed your streamer the best signal. And then on, both of them being clocked guarantees that your speakers get the pristine and very fine signal.
You mentioned that it was quiet. Standard streamer standard clock, or does it make any sound? Does it sound like a computer, or?
No, actually, generally speaking, everything that involves a DA converter must have a clock that gives the pace, and the quality of the clock is essential in order to get the best conversion or the best signal handling. Here we are using oven controlled clock, which means there is a chamber which is temperature stabilized, and the oscillator inside has always permanent temperature that it works from. So no matter what external temperature is, it will always have a temperature which is optimized for its frequency that has to work, and in this case it's 10 megahertz.
So there is no need for a fan?
No.
All right, so nothing that sounds.
Everything is totally passive here.
Yeah.
That's why we have SSDs as a storage media in the streamer in order to avoid moving parts.
All right.
So 4 TB, 4 terabytes of storage, easily easy for it to handle, and this saves you at least 1,600 high-res albums and somewhere around 200,000 songs.
Yeah.
In high resolution.
So now, as you understand, we all need something like this, and I once again have learned that the knowledge I had about hi-fi earlier was more or less wrong, and this is what I need now.
There is an interesting point to what you're saying, and that is we have always had these analog products, and we solved the problems with analog. For example, when we had vinyl players, we have to ground it, it has to be very silent, it has to isolate it. With this new technology, new ways of consuming music opened up, but also new sets of problems arise, and therefore you need a different thinking. You cannot solve the problems which arise with old thinking and old technology. That is why we have reclocking units, that's why we have new switches, that is why we are using fiber optics, etc.
Yeah, I would call this the opposite of a LP player.
Yes, indeed.
So this is the absolute opposite of LP player and your standard stereo, your old stereo with power, amplifier, etc. So this is as digital as it gets.
True. And the most important part for me, it has been a dream 2 decades in making, namely to be able to do this so minimalistic externally. There is a whole lot of work and high tech behind, but I as a consumer should not have to be bothered by that.
Yeah.
For me, the user interface has to be very intuitive and simple, and it can do all the fancy hard work behind. We haven't been able to do this previously because of lack of processing power, because of lack of software, but today we can do this, and it is stunning.
And in the other room, I will show that later, we have a smaller version of it. I thought it would look smaller. Is that because we have smaller speakers as well, or a smaller budget, or?
Yes, actually it is made, this technology trickles down, and you can actually take it there and show them. This technology trickles down. Now, there are some who want to enter into this world of streaming and don't have unlimited budget, and we have to respect that. And it's sometimes not even...
So these two are the same as those two?
No, actually, these two are the same as the top two.
All right. Okay, so the top two.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. They're just in the opposite order here. But here is an important point. It's not even necessarily the customer cannot afford. I think that life consists of so many more things than just hi-fi, and people simply have different priorities.
Yeah.
But they want to have the streaming, they want to have this beautiful interface, the big screen, and so we can offer it to at a half price, basically.
So what would the reason be here to not choose the cheaper and smaller ones?
Really, you would need to listen to them side by side, and you would need to have exceptional loudspeakers to clearly hear the difference.
All right.
There is, of course, a difference there, but I think that for 90% of people who want to have streaming, which is unproblematic, simple, plug and forget about it, they will be more than satisfied with a TT1 streamer, which we have there.
But if you have something as great as the
61s, then absolutely
61s,
you want to match them
the
with
ones.
something that is in parity with their capacity and resolution.
Yeah. So let's go to the next room.
Yes, let's do
The
that.
next step is. So this is my favorite setup. The 8351s. I used to have them as my movie speakers, and I really do like them. I had them with one subwoofer, and I find it hard to, depending on the room, of course. But for me, my small bedroom, they were excellent. But here we have the 8351s with two subwoofers that I think you should have with a stereo like this. And then we have the two smaller ones that does the same job. And yeah, I find it hard to say that I would prefer the more expensive thing, but it all depends on your room.
It's true. The room is really one of the factors which too often is forgotten.
Even though the SAM speakers are, because as my computer speakers, I went from, what did I have? I think the G3 or something. Then I went to the same size 8341 SAM. Might be slightly bigger. But the SAM system made them way better. So I could focus where I was sitting in front of the computer and where I am listening, instead of playing for the whole room. So the SAM system with the Genelec speakers makes a huge difference. So here we have the same thing. So I'm streaming music to that part, and then it reclocks digital into the speakers, digital. The speakers make it analog so I can hear it.
Yes, gradually. But first it goes from a daisy chain from first speaker, because the signal is digital, so there's only one cable.
Yeah, that was one thing that I thought looked weird, because you only have one speaker cables out from this one. But we have one speaker cable into one speaker, and then daisy chain to the rest of them.
Exactly. It goes left speaker to left sub to right sub to right speaker.
And I'm guessing that this makes it so it doesn't confuse left and right. And
no, once it is plugged in the first unit, it identifies what signal is where.
Is that because of the SAM system, or is it because of the matrix audio?
It's of the SAM.
All right, all right.
So let's see how this sounds.
And with the SAM system, what I've tested for a couple of reasons. At home, I listen from one spot, but here you need to have a couple of listening positions. So you have the sitting position, you have a couple of standing positions. So the SAM system is smart enough to not only focus on one spot. Is that correct?
It gives you, when you measure it and you give it, let's say 6 or 8 measuring points, reference points, it will create a wider sound stage, which is more encompassing. It becomes like that you're in that bubble, and it's much more forgiving than it would be only if you had a conventional 2 pair of speakers pointing to you.
But do I hear that difference if I'm just sitting in the same place all the time? Do I hear that there are different listening positions?
No, you don't. The system will optimize it for where you sit and widen the sound stage.
Yeah.
so it doesn't sound off axis. Very normally normal speakers, specifically those who are very directional, electrostatic and so on, you have an optimal position and you move a couple of decimeters to the left and all of a sudden half is gone. That is not the case here, and a lot of that is because of the nature of the speakers, how they're designed, because they are time and phase coherent, but also because of SAM.
I had some speakers at home a couple of years ago. I don't remember which one that was. So I was sitting by the computer, super impressed. They were really nice. And a friend of mine was sitting in a sofa, like 2 meters aside, and wasn't impressed at all.
Oh.
And I was, no, they are really good. But then when I moved him to my place, then he understood. And it's not supposed to be like that.
No, it's true. The thing is, in a studio, you want to have a controlled directivity and reflexes and everything, because you don't want to mix in the room into your mix that you're doing. But in a home, we are in a living room. We sit here,
around,
we sit at the table.
Unfortunately, that is the main thing why people still like Sonos, because it follows me for every room I go to. Yeah, but it still sounds like crap. Yeah.
Yes, we are not going to beat that horse. But the beauty of this is, again, very minimalistic. And here we have added 2 subwoofers, and still this very pure digital path helps us to have a better controlled bass reproduction, better integration between the speakers and the subwoofers.
Yeah, and when it comes to these, especially the 8351s, without the subwoofer, they absolutely have a big punch of bass, and I really do like that because they sound way bigger than they are. But because of the SAM system, when you connect a subwoofer to it, the same elements doesn't need to focus at all about playing bass or bringing bass. The power in the speaker and the element in the speakers can focus on mid-range and high range instead, and just let the subwoofer do that work.
Do that hard work with the lowest frequency, correct? And you notice that they become much more dynamic and they breathe in an easier way.
But just to explain, with your standard speakers, if you have a standard speaker and you plug in a standard subwoofer, the speakers will usually still try to play the bass, and then you have extra bass.
Correct.
Here we have a subwoofer that replaces the bass from the speakers completely.
Yeah, it just simply takes what it wants to work with, in this case from 85, 90 hertz down, and sends the rest of information to the main speakers. So the main speakers never see the information below 80 or 90 hertz.
All right.
So everybody does his work, which they are best at.
But then we have big speakers with big bass as well.
Yes, let's go look at that.
And here we have the 8381, the amazing 8381. And I'm going to stand next to them so you understand the size of them. So yeah, they are big. And I've been daydreaming if I would win Euro jackpot, yada, yada, yada. But they are heavy as well. I think they are 250 kilos each.
Yeah, 235 kilos per piece, and there's 6 15-inch drivers.
So more or less half a ton you need to be able to have on your floor. These are just amazing. My friends tell me that they don't want to listen to something as good as this because then they can't go home and listen to their own thing. But this is just something completely else. That is like me test driving a Formula 1 car, and then I don't want to drive my Toyota after that. There's 2 completely different words and completely different budgets as well. So what do we have here? We have, because this, I've seen this before. This is an old one.
Yes, that is their new reference DA converter, which is the M series, or in this case MS1. And what we're doing now is that we are connecting the switch and the clock. Now the big clock is controlling both the converter and the router.
And the 2 upper parts are?
That is the clock and the switch.
All right, all right. So as you understand, this is big. They have, how many 15 inches are there each in them?
6, 3 on each side. So 6 in total.
So of every side and front, we have a 15-inch sub, and these mid-range and high-range. So yeah, these are big and heavy and of course expensive, but they are amazing.
Seems like sorrow never done leave nobody alone. Maybe by tomorrow we could lose the thought of owning.
And just to explain, these speakers are very, very new. Undentia was the first one in Sweden, of course, and I believe one of the first one in the world to have them. And when it comes to the Matrix audio products, this is also the first one in Sweden. This is the first premiere of these brand new products. So pricing, etc., contact Undentia, but this is brand new, brand new.
So in this setup, like we did on the previous ones, we're using the switch, we're using the master reference clock, and that master reference clock is now controlling the DA converter and preamp as well as the switch. Our systems are all wired and prepared to run both fully analog and fully digital, and this is the beauty and versatility of this system. In some situations, and the customer has a DA converter that he likes or preamp that he likes, and we say no problem, you can use your analog signal. But here we want to show how amazing this new digital interface is and how minimalistic and pure and clean we can make this. And in this case we have about 5,900 watts per side.
Yeah. But if you, of course, people love LP music and that sound. If you want to connect that here, how do you?
No
do you
problem.
just plug it in like your standard amplifier?
Yeah, you plug it in into the. We have a preamp in this series, and that preamp will accept your phono from your record player. It will accept open reel tapes. It will accept anything analog in.
All right.
So
you don't have to convert completely to the digital world.
No.
You can still use your LP player.
You can absolutely stay fully in the analog world, and this specific DAC is very different from many others because it is built as a true dual mono. There is two totally separated left channel and right channel, and the volume regulation and the amplification of the preamp is also truly left and right, and this gives phenomenal channel separation and wonderful dynamics.
Yeah, I think that's it. So even if I would have the money for them, I don't have the room for them. And yeah, they're just huge.
You have to have a very forgiving and understanding neighbors or own house.
Yeah, this is out of the world. Even if you go to a cinema or concert or whatever you go to, you don't have speaker as good as these. So this is absolutely a completely other world.
We have measured these speakers' response in this room, and they go down to 14 hertz.
They go down to 14 hertz.
And clean, that means plus minus 0 dB, it just really goes down to 14 hertz, and that is a very physical experience.
That is the main thing that I say that I like about Genelec speakers, that even if I listen on a low volume at home, I still hear all the full range. I hear the bass, I can feel the bass, I hear the mid-range. So everything is still full range, even on low volume. So yeah, I think that's it. It's so hard to pick something bang for the buck. It all depends on your room and your budget. Like, I really like 8351s. I really like the 40 ones that I have at home at my computer, and it sounds crazy to have such a great speakers as computer speakers, but I spend most of my time at my computer. I sit there all day long. So for me, it's really important to have really great speakers only as computer speakers as well. People focus on having stereo speakers or cinema speakers, home cinema speakers that they use maybe 2 hours a month. So for me, that sit by the computer 8 hours a day, of course, that is where I'm supposed to have the best speakers with size and budget and yada yada.
Absolutely. I mean, and the reason why I have personally chosen to work with them is because, you know, you'd never enter into this listening fatigue as many bad speakers cause in extended period of listening. Now, you mentioned computer system. Actually, I can use this as a computer system.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can take your Apple and you just go AirPlay 2 directly into the DAC, and you can sit and listen to your YouTube or listen to look at a film, and you have the support of the big system.
The funny thing is that I have a friend that has a great home stereo, and he wanted to listen to music the other day to get away from wife and kids, and then he uses his headphones. Yeah, he has great headphones as well, but for me that is so wrong. You're supposed to be listening on your spot with your speakers that you love without disturbing the rest of the house.
It's true, it's true. You know, reality is like that. We are fortunate in one sense, both you and me, that we have dedicated space where we don't have to take in consideration spouse or kids and so on. And I am really grateful for it, because the longest part of the day I'm spending with this equipment, and it is so essential that they sound natural and non-distortion in order not to be tired simply of listening.
Yeah, that is a good review of a speaker if they always sound good. Like another friend, he told me that sometimes his speakers sound bad and sometimes they sound really good, and he thinks it's because of the power in the building, yada yada yada. And I said, no, my speaker always sounds good, and I never get tired of them. Actually, I get surprised at least once a week. Oh, damn, they are really good, but I never think that they sound bad. Never. And in his case, yeah, it can be the power in the building, it can be a bunch of things, but I don't have that problem at all with my Genelec active speakers.
I think the excellent engineering is the main cause for it. They have 4 decades. I mean, it's 40 years of delivering equipment to studios around the world, and in this environment there is no space for things failing, or there's no space for things not sounding good or starting to distort.
I say that as well as the producer that produced the music, the same kind of speaker he uses, why shouldn't I have that at home?
Correct. That is what we are using. We are actually using mastering equipment, and these speakers were originally designed to be a large freestanding monitors. Normally in this size they will mount them into the walls, you know, a little bit above the mixing board, and they are mounting inside the wall. And the request was for speakers which will handle Dolby Atmos specification and also be possible to move. Well, if you can move 235 kilos.
Yeah. Yeah, these are just another league completely. So the new Matrix Audio products that have teach me a bunch of things that I thought I knew earlier. So contact Undentia if you have any questions, and then that's it.